because sometimes you have that like, oh, this person went to this university, that's not good, so the person is not good, but that's not true. People are doing their studies into this university because maybe they didn't have the choice. You don't know their background, so I think what is most important is what they have done after. And in France, we're trying to change that because we really care about that before. But now we're really trying to focus on the experience, on what people want to do. And I think it's pretty cool. And especially in startup, we are doing this. In big companies, it's still a bit like that, We want someone who has done this master or this university and nothing more, And it's kind of, I would say, discriminate. Blah 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 blue.
Blah blah blue.
Blah blah blue. Blah blah blah.
Oh yeah.
Ah, blah blah blah.
Oh, c'est là. Alors. Bienvenue.
Ah merde.
Adé. So, we're back with another episode of the Post Definitions podcast. I'm Freddie Lancha.
And I'm Adélaïde Boucher.
Welcome, Adé.
Thank you. Thank you, Freddie.
So, I'm super excited today because Adé has another unique perspective, like everyone that I've talked to and everyone in the world, but specifically in a cool way. Adé is, just a brief introduction is that she's working in HR, and basically she's working with people, hiring people, trying to figure out who people are and whether they're the right people for the job. She's also interviewing for these HR positions, and I just think there's a really interesting conversation there. Plus, she's just an awesome person, and I'm excited for the conversation.
Thank you very much.
Pas de problème.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm French, yeah.
Right. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Adélaïde, as you know. I feel like I'm doing an interview. That's so weird.
That is what this is.
Yeah. But I'm French, and I've done my studies into HR management. And I'm someone who really likes, talk to people, asking questions, get to know a bit, of their background. And I think that's why I choose HR. I didn't really think about it. I just knew that I liked this, so I just continue on it. And I've mostly worked for startup in talent acquisition. And I've recruited so many profiles. I think that's all I can say for me now. Well.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. That was a great introduction. Just jumping into sort of a deep question right away. You said that you like to explore people's backgrounds through questions.
Yeah.
Do you think that people's backgrounds are the best way to figure out more about them, where they come from and what they've done with their life really defines them?
You mean in the work field or just in general?
Let's start with
in general. Yeah, I think for sure, because when you get to know people, they all have different histories, culture, money also, it also counts. And so in a way that defines the person they are, actually when you meet them. So I think it's pretty cool to know about their history and what they have done. Some of them, follow the path. Some of them didn't, and choose another way and, begin from scratch in another country maybe or in another city. And so that's funny to see why people are doing this, because there's always a reason, when you're making a choice, there is always a reason. It's when you're going to the supermarket or when you're choosing what you want to do for your studies, there's always something. And I think this is really important, and the decision you make makes us understood who you are, basically.
Yeah, cool. What do you think, so going more just into your expertise of jobs?
I'm not an expert.
What do you think about a person when they say they've they worked at a previous career doing something totally different, and they bounced around and they tried different things, and now they landed on this. Do you, versus somebody who's always been working in that one field, in that one position, what do you feel changes between a person who's more diverse or is really expertise in an area from their experience?
What do you think about the people who change completely from another field, and what do I think about people who stay in their expertise,
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, exactly.
So if I continue, on people who love, what they are doing and they are continuing into their expertise, I think it's pretty cool because people are basically in love on what they are doing. So, they want to know more, they continue to have and evolve in terms of skills. So that's pretty cool. And they're, expert on the subject, and they can really help, companies or just people or, projects around us. So I think it is pretty cool. And what I think about people who change, that's basically more interesting because obviously there's always a reason, as I told you, of why they change, I have an example in my mind. In my last company, we had a guy. He was about 40, something like this. He was a software developer for Android. But before, he was doing, construction. And he has done this for, I would say, like 20 years, something like this. And I feel this is pretty cool because you get to learn about why did you choose to become like a software developer, because like there is so huge big gap between like construction and like coding, And the thing is, like people, they have like a mental, I don't know how to say it in English, but some kind of a sign, in their head, and they want to change their life, they want to live better. So for some of them, they just want to completely have another way of life. For most of them, and that's why they choose, to have an interest in something else. And they ask questions, they meet people, and they're doing, things by themselves at the beginning. Like you with your podcast, maybe one day you will be like a really good, presentator on radio. But
hard to imagine, right?
No. I don't know why you're saying that.
Yeah, that's super cool. Do you remember why? Oh, so he had a moment where he just felt he needed a better life.
Yeah. So basically, he lives in the south of France, and sometimes it can be really rude in Marseille for people who knows the city.
And I went there. Yeah. It's a crazy place. It's like Napoli in Italy.
Exactly. So there are a lot of fights, and all those things, and he just wanted to have like another life, and he has like the motivation and the patience also to learn something really new. And it's completely different because when you're from construction, that's also the people around you that change. It's not only the job itself, it's just completely different when you pass from construction to startup environment. Like people are really not the same. Basically around you, people are also young. They don't use, the same thing as you. There's so many things we could talk about it.
Yeah, that's so sick. Do you feel like someone coming from, for instance, construction into computer science? I know neither of these are like maybe something you are that interested in or know that much about. I don't know, but like brings something unique that someone who never was in construction could bring.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, of course. So I'm just thinking, are there pros from changing from something so different into like? Is there a good aspect of like someone who was a construction worker or working in construction? They bring something new to computer science, and that is actually just a unique, powerful element.
Yeah. So I don't know in details like what he could bring, to be honest, because I was not working with him. But for sure, like you have learned something before, so you have skills, you have like a methodology, you have like the curiosity, and yeah, you bring it to your new environment. So for sure, it's always useful, and could be like from construction to software development, but also like to software development to construction. The job changed, but the way you think don't, I think.
Definitely. How about getting hired as an HR person? What is that like? Knowing that like right now you're talking to the current HR, it must be so different than normal hiring because you're talking to the person you might be working with or taking their job even. And it's very meta in the sense that like you know what they're looking for and you've been on that side of it. Do you want to talk a little bit about that process because you were just interviewing for jobs?
Yeah, for sure. So I've applied, in Australia for many jobs, not only like in-house recruiting, but also like external to recruit for agency recruitment. But yeah, as a recruiter, you know what people are gonna ask you. You know what, the day-to-day basis, of your mission is the same as the person you are talking to. So you always need to find a way to do like to explain how you did the things in the right way, how you really improve yourself, because you are doing the same job, so you need to show like how with your way it was good and how you succeed. I think it's more important for HR for sure because we know the job. And yeah, just talk about yourself, like really have this thing where you know how to show you, to talk about your experience and also what you can bring, into the company. For my side, I think it's really important, to go in a company where you are aligned with the values, with also the product they are making, that's really important because otherwise, especially in recruitment, because if you recruit people but you are not, 100% into the project, that's difficult also to sell, I would say, to the people what's the vision, the company vision. Of course, you can do it like you can just emphasize. Do you understand
Emphasis
what I mean?
Or exaggerate.
Yeah, exactly. But it's better when it's with honesty. So when you really trust on it.
It's easy when it's honesty because you just have to say what you think.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so good. That's such good advice because I think everyone here is going to be looking for jobs at some point. And a lot of people feel like they're just victims of the job market in the sense that they just apply to what there is. And so maybe they won't be interested in your advice, but I think that it's really important to actually look at where you're applying and care. And if you do care, not only will you be more picky and look for jobs that you would actually enjoy and then be like happier in life, but if you do care and you take that time, you're going to show up to the interview and you're going to convince them that you're not just someone looking for any job, but you really actually love them and you have a reason for it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is the thing that I really like when I interview people, and especially when I interview people who are really motivated for the job and the company, because you feel it, you feel it in the conversation. They are not just talking about themselves, they are talking about why they are interested without, you asking the question. And that's pretty amazing when you have this, because you feel the connection and you feel that this could be like a good asset for the team. So for sure, I'm not the technical person, so I cannot judge on this. But regarding the fit, regarding the background, the skills, the communication, that's a way, to feel like, yeah, I think we could move with this person.
Yeah, definitely. I was just talking to someone recently who was leaving a company because she was doing all these positions, including a little bit of HR and like company values and stuff, and she just didn't agree with the values, so she couldn't work there. And the best advice she could give to her like best coworkers / employees was to leave. And she was like, "Oh, I can't do my job if that's the best advice I can give." Yeah.
Yeah, you need to avoid also toxic environment. Also, some companies, they are telling you like, those are my values, like, you know, I don't know, outstanding, you know, all these kind of things, and they really don't. They are not like the value. You know what I mean? And that's complicated because you are arriving into a company who's supposed to be like this and like this, but they're not, in fact. And yeah, you can only see it when you're in the company. So it's your choice whether to continue, whether you leave, you quit, and find something that's really match with you. And I can understand it can be also complicated sometimes because, as I told you, with the market and everything, can be also complicated to find job. But if you do have the choice and do have the opportunity to really look for something you like, then go ahead. Like, life is too short, you know, to spend your time in something that you don't like, I think.
Yeah. Well said.
Philosophy time.
Awesome. I'm gonna check to see if it's like run out of space yet. Nice. Professional.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
You're so strong.
Okay.
Do you want water?
Yes, please.
Up.
Merci.
Funny moments in the video.
Yeah, we will probably cut this, but
Yeah.
later you'll be like watching this, Adi, and it'll just be, and you'll hear it saying, "We'll probably cut it," and you're like,
I
"What? Why
won't
is this
na-
still there?"
I won't watch it.
No.
Anyway, maybe I will listen to, but won't watch.
So, people are obviously, like, you gave some advice about finding work, about finding the companies, but I think that in life, when you're working for a company, or maybe you just want to find, you know, friends or people on your side, what kind of questions do you ask?
Yeah, so I think it's usually the same. It depends, you know, on what we will have in the conversation, but I ask about the background, why they choose, you know, to become this, you know, like you're a data scientist. So I would ask you, like, why did you choose to become a data scientist? What was the reason? What kind, yeah, the project they liked. I just want to see, like, what was the best project they have done, what was the role, you know, just to understand, like, how was the involvement and what they have learned about this project, for example, even if, you know, it didn't work. That's always too cool to understand, you know, the way, the method they used, and yeah, seeing how they function. No, so that's pretty cool. And so you talk. It can last, you know, 30 minutes, but in fact, I think those are the main question, you know, because you get to know a lot of the people when you ask this question. It's just like not really intimate, but you just want to see, like, how the person is functioning. And after, of course, you ask, like, why are you interested into the company? What was the reason you apply, etc., etc. So sometimes people can lie, but you feel it because, you know, you feel like the reply is not really 100% honest. So you try. Sometimes I try to go deeper in the conversation. So.
Yeah.
Like, really, what?
Yeah, calling them out on their shitty answers.
Yeah, because sometimes you get enough, you know, about those not shitty reply, but, you know, like, those kind of replies who are not really honest. So you just want to see, like, the real reason. So yeah, I'm going deeper because I want them also to be just a bit shocked about who I am, and you're doing an interview, so also you need to be professional, and I can understand that you maybe have a lot of interviews to do, but when you're here, you're with me, and you only have once to present you know what I mean? It's just you for once, so now you have to do everything right now, because it will be based on me, the first step.
Yeah.
So if you're not into it, that's quite difficult.
Oh wow. So do you do anything to try to help them feel more comfortable, or is that sort of just up to them? Like, you want people who can be comfortable without?
No, for sure. At the beginning of the conversation, I'm trying, to be not friendly, but just asking them like how they, yeah, you understand, and just explaining like how the conversation is going to be like for the next 30 minutes. So if they have any question, etc., they can just ask me at the beginning also. So trying to feel like a good atmosphere and making them comfortable before talking about them and the company, because of course I will tell about the company and there are also a lot of things to say, so it's also a lot of information.
Mosquitoes.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the way I do.
I'll watch for mosquitoes on you.
Where?
I'll watch. I'll let you know.
Yeah, okay.
You might get a slap.
Okay.
Do I have your permission?
No.
I'll just tell you.
No, just telling me. That would be perfect.
Do I fail the interview? No. What if someone asks you that?
You are honest, so I think, yeah. Congratulations.
Wow.
Yeah, you get the job.
Wow.
Yeah.
So good. Yes, that is one of my good qualities. I can't be anything other than honest. I feel like you said, like, you can't do a good job when you don't believe in, when you're not honest. It's just harder.
Yeah, honesty is really important. Yeah. I'm functioning like this. People say sometimes you are too honest, but no, I'm just telling the truth. And I hope people in front of me will do the same with me, because that's the way we can collaborate.
Definitely. Yeah, cool. So you were talking about feeling whether an answer is honest and a good answer, and it really like intentions behind answer. And is that harder over the video call, like Zoom culture?
It's been like 3 years now, so I've been really used to do interviews by Zoom or just by phone call. So that's not a problem. I think that's the same way. You ask the question, everyone is used to do this thing, so yeah, you can feel like the conversation is still the same, you know what I mean? So if you feel the person can be like a good asset, you feel it, and if not, then the person is not a good person, you know what I mean? But I think there's no I don't know how to say it, but
there's no big difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, we all know a little bit about that. I've only worked remotely until coming to Australia. And yeah, it's obviously different in person, but with the questions, you know their words are not pure when you hear the words, stuff like that. Yeah,
but for sure, after when the person is coming, to the office, for sure it's always good, because you get to know the person. You also have like conversation outside, I would say, of the interview. And yeah, it can be different. It can help you also to be more comfortable, because you are looking at the office. You can see maybe your future colleagues. You can imagine yourself, into the company. So I think it's a step which is important and cool to do, but not mandatory from my side.
Right. How important is personality, other than like loving the company and all this stuff, for like a technical role? How much do you care about their personality and how much you can work with them and stuff?
It's a hard question, really. I think it's 50-50, to be honest. Like, maybe sometimes it can be more, because if you don't have like all the technical requirements, but you're keen to learn, you have motivation, you show that you can do the job, then personality really matters, So sometimes it can be like a really good asset, but for me it's good to have like 50-50. Then you're aligned with the values, you're aligned with the project, but also in terms of skills and background, that's also good for the job. So I think that's a perfect mix. It really depends on the situation and and the job you are looking for. Is it more a junior person? Is it more a senior? So for sure, maybe the senior role would be, we will care a lot about, the technical side, and I think a bit less about the personality, because you have like a lot of project to do. So in general, yeah, you put much effort into personality when it's like a junior role. Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's super interesting. So you have just started your first role in Australia. Is this your first time working outside of France?
Second time. First was in London,
Okay.
in England. I was doing an internship, but like really a role after my studies. Yeah, first role.
And you've probably hired non-French people as well
Yeah.
to your companies. How much different is it to judge someone and hire someone from your culture versus from another?
Basically, you're trying also to avoid your bias, because you always have stereotypes regarding the people you're gonna interview, regarding the country they are. So basically, trying to be neutral, I think it's really, really important. And yeah, I don't know. I don't remember the question. Sorry.
No worries. The question was just like French people versus, people from outside of your, like how you're able to kind of understand people from your culture versus not. But yeah, you did already answer.
Yeah, you're talking to people. You're recruiting for a job, so it's same. You're talking about the background. So I'm not really going deeper into the detail and personal life and all those things. For sure, time after time, you understand, like, regarding where the people are. Sometimes they can exaggerate it, regarding what they are doing. They are, speaking a lot, but in fact, comparing to what you could do here in France, or that's nothing. They look like really, really sure, and you think it's really important what they are doing, but in fact, not at all. And you need really to pay attention to what they are saying, because you can only understand time after time, just because you need experience and you will have so many interviews. But again, yeah, it's just experience, I think.
Yeah, interesting. So in the end, something like a resume or a cover letter, mostly a resume, is like really valuable because there's no bias, and you can really get down to what did they do and not how do they say it, how do they sell it, right?
Yeah, but yeah, okay, but in some countries or maybe in some companies, they can be also really judging just by the name. So I'm not doing this, but some of the people are doing, and you also need to advise also your team or the manager you are working with that it's important, to really care about the people, what they are doing, who they are, and not judging only by, I don't know, the name or where they have done their studies. Because sometimes you have that, like, oh, this person went to this university, that's not good, so the person is not good, but that's not true. People are doing their studies into this university because maybe they didn't have the choice. You don't know their background, so I think what is most important is what they have done after. And in France, we're trying to change that, because we really care about that before. But now we're really trying to focus on the experience, on what people want to do, and I think it's pretty cool. And especially in startup, we are doing this. In big companies, it's still a bit like that, We want someone who has done this master or this university and nothing more, And it's kind of, I would say, discriminate, because some people who hasn't done this could also match with the job. So yeah, you need to advise and help hiring manager on that. That's really, really important.
Yeah, I think it's pretty naive to cut off completely, based on university. But do you think it plays any role? Like, to what extent would you care about a certain university over another if the candidates are more or less equal?
You mean on why I choose one of them?
Yeah, like, is it important at all?
The university, you mean? For some hiring manager, because sometimes it can be important because regarding, the specialties they can study. For some of them, it can be profitable. So for sure, university will be important. But in general, I don't think it's important. What I think is important, I told you, is like what they have done. Where did they work? What have been the project they are worked on? Sorry for my English. And yeah, if there are similars really in terms of experience, then it gets to personality, which is the one who is more keen to, stay in the company, to really match with the team, to bring, really things into the team and add value. So you need to speak about that.
To what extent do you bring the skills and the lessons you learned from this whole HR experience and business experience and learning about people to your personal life and understanding people and friendships and relationships and so on?
I think a lot of my personal life really helped me, to work into this field. Because in general, as I told you, I'm trying, to avoid bias. Because you can really judge, people every time if you want to. And I was doing that with my friend in high school, and I was like, no, that's not cool to do that. And so I tried to, work on myself when I was in high school on that, and just really to get to know people. And so once you have this mindset, who is already clear, I can say like this, then it was easier for me, to do my job. Because for you, it's natural to do all those things. So then after you meet people and you discover, so many jobs, so many different profiles. And that's really, really cool because you get to know different sector, how they work, what are the jobs, on a day-to-day basis. So that's funny because sometimes when you are going out and you meet people, so you really don't know them, but you ask about what they are doing, and the job they are doing, they don't have to explain you. And I think this is pretty cool because you have like a good understanding about how people work in the company, what are, really the main important criterias. And, it just bring like culture, for yourself. And that's so, so, so cool. And I think that's really why I like also this job, because you get to know so many people and it brings you so much at the end. And people also are really nice. And yeah.
That's so sick. Now I want to be in HR.
Cool. Come.
Do you have... So you found HR and you are talking about how you really get so much out of it. You love it. And then you talk to so many people about why they love what they do and why what they do is the best place for them. You have any advice for people in figuring out what they should do with their life, what a good reason is, and how they should like look internally and think, this is a bad reason for the reason I'm interested in that position or that kind of path. This is a better path, but it's scarier or something like this. Yeah.
I think it's really difficult, I think, just to find your own way. Even me, I don't know, if I'm do it this all my life, but you need just to think about who you are, doing tests, asking question about what do you like, what you don't like, asking question around you to see, okay, maybe if I like this, maybe I should, maybe go into this kind of, sectors, or maybe this kind of jobs. So it's really important to know yourself. So I went to a business school, so I know not only everyone can go to business school, but that's really cool, you know, to do internships, because it allows you also to get into a companies and discover a job. So mosquito are here.
Crisis.
Oui. But yeah, you know, internships, testing, asking questions, exploring the world, like travel also because you meet people. And I know it can be difficult, you know, when you're just going out of the high school, you're just a bit lost, but it's important, you know, to dare and do it. And if you have family who supports you, it can be really helpful. For mine, it was the case, you know, they really helped me. My parents, I was completely lost. But yeah, know yourself, know your value, and just test thing, and you'll see what happens, you know?
That's badass, yeah, it's so good.
Thank you.
Did you ever find yourself on the wrong path?
I think when I was in the business school, at the end, yeah, I was like, no, that's not for me right now. I want to do something else. And we had the option to, you know, study human resources. And I'm so happy that we had this opportunity to do that, because I was like, okay, I want to continue on that. And yeah, when I was working for a recruitment agency, I think it was not the best for me, because it was more like a sale role, you know. I don't know if you just know like the purpose of a recruitment agency, but they want to place people and get new clients and having commission. And I think for me that's more a sales role, rather than, you know, really knowing the people, recruiting, you know, for your own strategy, etc. So at this time I was not feeling really, you know, in my
element.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. It pretty much goes against everything you explained earlier about, you know, you need to be part of the project, you need to love a project to get the right people in, and so on.
Exactly. And so as a HR, as a recruiting person, you are really part of the business, because without us, you know, there's no hirings, there's no candidate experience, there's no all of this. So the company cannot, you know, increase, or, you know, you cannot have people into the team. So we are really important, and that's why people need to understand like HR is really part of the business, and we need to see what is going on, and we are not the boring part, because most of the people say that, like, oh, we don't like HR. It can happen. Like, I have a lot of colleagues who really like HR people, but some of them don't, and they just don't understand why we are here. So always have to justify who you are, what you're doing, and what you can bring to them, just to make them realize that, hey, we do matter, you know what I mean?
You're the reason why they're there.
Exactly, for some of them, yeah.
So you guys build the company culture also?
Yeah, we are working on this, yeah. Yeah, working on the values, on what we would like to put into the company, so we all make sure that we all have the same values, the same purpose, and feeling comfortable. So it's not like only recruiters. I think it's also a project where everyone from the people team needs to be part of. But yeah, you bring the awareness when you are doing the interview for the first time about who we are, what we are doing. You're selling in a way like the company, you know, like the good parts and what you could do, etc. But you also need to, during this interview, to share about who we are in terms of vision, in terms of values and all those things. So people can also have like a first projection of the company and what we can bring to them also. Because it's going like in the both way, you know, they can bring to you, but also companies brings to the candidates too.
Yeah, cool. So finding that relationship.
Yeah, it needs to work like this. Otherwise, it cannot work.
Of course, yeah. That's cool, yeah, to be part of a team, and in the end, if you, yeah, you're part of something bigger, and nothing is completely your fault or their fault, and so on.
Yeah. And I think it's more interesting also when it's like company at the early stage, or when there's not a lot of people, because they are, building all the company culture. And that's pretty cool. Versus like really big companies who are really well established for so many years. You don't sell the company vision or purpose in the same way.
Do you prefer working for startups?
Yeah, definitely.
What would you say to people that have like a negative perspective of business in general, like people who aren't working in like we met at a startup event, but there's a lot of my friends, a lot of people I meet that are just like, I don't know about corporate culture, you know what I mean?
Like your big companies, you mean?
Big companies and even startups, like they're just like, oh wow, big adult job, and you said you started to feel a little bit out of your element in the business world, in the business major at university, and then you found your niche and you found what startups are really like and all of this, and you found like real humans and soul, right? And that's what you ended up loving. What do you think is the misconception there, and what would you say to people that are like, oh, I don't know about working for companies?
I think the best advice is to test, as I told you before. So you're like, okay, maybe that's not my kind of thing, but you are not really sure because you are not into the company, so you cannot really judge of with your perception, if I can say it like this. So I don't know, like my best advice would be like talk to the people who work into this kind of companies, like how their process, how is the organization, is it clear, isn't it clear, do you see yourself working into this kind of organization? You need to ask yourself the question for sure before testing. And yeah, after like pass the interviews, ask question that really matters to you, on a day-to-day basis, and then you will see what happens. I think you cannot know because you didn't do it. So yeah, the best way to know is just to test again.
Yeah, that's sick. I think you're right. In all of life, go live it. Yeah. Yeah. So this was a really eye-opening conversation. I'm really happy with the way it went. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm happy also to talk about this. It feels good to talk about the work in general, because most of the time I'm just talking about recruitment, with my colleague and everything, and it'd be cool also to talk about it with someone who's not doing recruitment, and with you, Guy, for sure.
Yeah. We love you too.
Yeah.
No, it's cool because I think that we're framing this topic that people might not be that interested in. It's a job, like, oh, that's what you do, blah blah. Almost no jobs have that, like, wow, when you're in a conversation, like you meet at like a social event, like people just think that jobs are boring, we don't want to talk about them. But yeah, like I'm genuinely interested, and I think that you gave a lot, like it just relates so much to lives, no matter what people are doing, working at companies, startups, or not. Yeah, understanding humans.
Yeah,
relevant
exactly.
to all of us. Cool.
Well, thank you very much,
Thank
Freddy.
you. Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, merci.
Au revoir.
Au revoir, à bientôt.
À bientôt.
Stop the video.